Hey, can you hear me?
Yep,
Yes.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh,
Whoops, where'd you go?
that's a good question.
Paula,
Oh, Paula's coming on.
thought I'd get on early because I couldn't quite do it very well before.
Oh,
Well, and I thought I better click on to in case I had problems today. Hi, Paula.
good morning, good afternoon. Yes, evening.
Hi, Michelle.
Hey, hear me? Yes.
Whoops, where'd you go? Oh, Paula's coming on. I thought I better click on to in case I had problems today. Hi, Paula.
Hello.
I'm still eating dinner.
Do you have audio today, Michelle?
Yes, you can hear me?
Michelle, are you there?
Here, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Okay, that's good. I'm just trying to set up the watch your language because we're streaming over the old internet.
Okay. I can see your lips moving, but I can't hear you, Michelle.
You know what? There's always a delay when I talk on this thing.
Okie dokie.
It's not as bad as it was last night. Last night it was like 30 seconds.
30-second delay?
What'd you have, Garrett?
Yeah.
Are you doing this for Garrettsville too?
Wait a minute. Oh, Ray
Okay,
Schwartz.
Mary Ann, I can only see your forehead.
That's because I'm still eating dinner.
Hey, Linda. Linda,
Yes,
Ray Schwartz wants to join the meeting. Is he giving a presentation tonight? From
he
Necco
sent me
Water?
some. He sent me some extra information because it was recommended we at least get a price on backflow preventers also. And I didn't realize that they would be that much more expensive, but in case anybody has a question for him, he wanted to be online because it was presented, excuse me, to finance with the updated prices and stuff. And so it needed to come back to service since finance didn't move it on to council. So yes, he's here to answer any questions.
So I can let him in?
You can let him in.
I'm letting him in. All right, I gotta find the stupid link. Okay. Copy.
I'm opening a window next to my chair because I'm having a hot flash. So if we get street noise, let me know.
Hello, Bob joined.
Hi, Bob.
Hello.
Bob who? I'm sorry.
Bob Gaglione.
Thank you.
Are you just on your phone, Bob? We can't see you? Or you're still connecting?
No, I'm on my phone.
Oh,
How bad was the water main break?
they had it fixed a little before 1 o'clock. So I thought that
Yep.
they fixed it very quickly. Oops had been out, but it wasn't marked for some reason.
Wow.
So. So we'll have to have a conversation with workmen to see who's responsible. At this point, I really don't know, but if they
Yeah.
called oops,
Oh, so they
John,
hit it working.
yes, they had started the, since we got all the easements, finally
Yes.
for that, sanitary under Compass's parking lot.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I had called them to see if they were gonna honor the price that they had quoted last summer, and they said yes. And so I checked with John and I checked with Jenny, to make sure we still had funds, because we had appropriated $50,000 last fall for it, and,
Mhm.
so they could start yesterday. Today's Tuesday. And so let's get it done
Yep.
before we start widening the street, you know.
Exactly.
Hi, Scott. Can you hear me, Scott?
Uh-oh. He can't hear us.
Scott, can you hear us?
Hey, Randy,
Hello.
there he is. He doesn't answer to Scott. He only answers
No,
to
I'm
Randy.
sorry. I just got my audio on. Sorry.
Okay. Hi, Ray. Welcome to the meeting. Oh, you're muted.
Your volume isn't on either.
Hi there.
Thank you.
Hello.
Is that your wife helping you out?
Oh, yes. She can do everything.
That's good. I dropped my mouse, sorry.
Can you imagine doing this every meeting?
No,
No.
We will be.
Yeah.
I'm sure some people probably would think it would be great. I don't know. There you are, Mary Ann. We see you now.
I like it because everyone's name is on your picture.
Oh, there you Well, Linda, I have 6. Do you want to start?
I have 6 also.
Paul, oh, there's Paula. Okay,
Yes,
so
I'm
we have
here.
everybody.
Yeah, Bob's audio, no picture.
Oh, okay. Can we hear him? Is he there now?
Yeah, I'm here.
That's you, Bob?
You hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
how are
me.
you? Okay,
Okay, buddy.
all right, we will call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock on Tuesday. Roll call, please.
That's you, Mary Ann.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, hey, John.
Hey, John.
So I just say everybody's name?
Yes, ask everybody and they'll say present.
Okay.
So it would be Paula, Scott, and Bob.
Oh, okay. Paula Chewbacca,
Here.
Scott Weaver,
Here.
Bob Gaglione,
Here.
And we would like to take a moment of silence for the US and for our allies, please, and for our first responders and our hospital staff, healthcare workers. Thank you very much. Citizens, do we have any citizens?
We do have Ray Schwartz from Neptune. Scott,
Oh.
if we have any questions on the meters.
Oh, great. Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening. Ray Schwartz.
The important part was good.
Ray Schwartz. Okay. Well, let's move on to the approval of the minutes first. March minutes. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Yeah, Pam's talking.
So, moved.
Second.
Second.
I can't tell who motioned that.
Paula made the motion, Bob second.
Thank you.
And then let's move on to John with the.
Don't forget to
village
vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can we have all eyes on the minutes?
Aye.
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 Did you get my eye?
Yep, she did.
And now let's move on to the village administrator's report.
Yes, I'll make it short and sweet. We're working on the water line. Workman is working on the water line right now. And of course working on the sewer line. They hit a water line today. So it has been fixed and we are up and the reservoir is still filling up when we left. So that's where we're at with that. And they're getting ready to get the pipe all together. They just got to pull it through on the sewer line coming up.
Was that the horizontal boring? Is that how they hit it?
Yes, they had the horizontal, They started doing, well, they were right near the digging of it to start the boring, and that's when they hit it with the machine.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
so fortunately, just clamped it, fixed it, went on.
Okay. Yeah, it seemed pretty fast.
And that's all for right now. I'll speak later when we talk about meters and so forth.
Okay. All right, the review of ordinance 2019-60 that we tabled. Oh, we did table, that's correct. Okay, so let's review ordinance 2020-15. Does everybody have that in front of them?
Yes.
Linda, do you want to handle this one?
I'll take the lead if you want me to.
Yes.
At the last service meeting, you guys discussed to keep us in the black on water and sewer. The sewer was getting pretty close. And so we did calculations at the last month. And I think it came like to $27 and some odd cents, and we decided to go with $30 for operations in sewer. You guys
Correct.
sent it to finance, and at finance, it was discussed, and Bob intervened if I don't get this right. They said that they were fine with this, the $30 for sewer, but they also felt that there should be something for water, maybe for capital improvements to start on that. So they discussed various amounts. And from my notes, what I remember, we have to see the finance minutes to be sure, and maybe Bob remembers. We discussed adding something for water, and I said, well, why don't we just go with the 86.79 or whatever it was, with the surcharge that the county had said. And one of the members said, no, that was too much. And I said, well, how much? And he said, maybe $40. But they didn't make a motion or anything because they couldn't. They would have to amend it at council. So I guess you guys will have to decide, are you going to support the $40 for water capital and the $30 for operations for sewer, which is $70, 17 less than the 86.79. So that's where that conversation was left. I'm sorry, Paula, did you say something?
No,
Okay. Bob, was that basically correct on what was discussed at finance?
Yeah, you hit it pretty much on the mark on that, Mayor.
So that was that. So I mean, if you guys are comfortable with, doing 30 for sewer and recommending 40 for water capital, that's per month per customer. Then somebody could make that motion at council next week, or 2 weeks, I'm sorry.
Paula, how do you feel about this?
I know there's a lot we've got to do with the water. A lot of capital improvements that are necessary. Because of the actions by the residents, I would rather see that we go forward with 2020-15, which reflects the $30 for sewer at this time. And then if service feels we need to do something for water, I think we should do it as a separate, I would recommend doing it as a separate ordinance and consider it as a separate ordinance rather than altering what we've got in front of us. Because if we amend this, and Michelle, correct me, if we amend this at this point, when it goes to council, do we have to go back and have you do an exhibit, expand the exhibit A to reflect the water before we can pass it as an emergency?
You're basically right, Paula. If you're going to do something on the water capital side, then it would be better to just make that separate legislation. Then it keeps it neater. Then you've got one subject for one piece of legislation, which is the way it's supposed to be. And then you can address them separately.
Okay. I kind of agree with that too. That makes more sense. I think personally, I think that makes more sense. I mean, we do need to do something, but I agree with Paula. I don't know if we should muddy up, 2020-15, adding that on.
Well, then let me ask this question, because it doesn't matter to me how you do it. Would you want to make a motion to have legislation for council for a water capital improvement fund for council meeting coming up, or you want to wait a month or so?
What was, I mean, in finance, I'm going to jump ahead just so I can get a feel for. Did you guys talk to Jenny about the meters? Was there a discussion about that?
There was, yes, there was a presentation by Ray, who is also on with us now.
Okay,
Bob, I'll let you because you're an actual member, okay? I mean, you guys had the discussion, but nobody made a motion to move it forward to council for the meters.
Right.
but what was the feeling, Bob? I mean, financially, since, I mean, how was the room? How did everybody feel about it? You know, taking on that
Correct
debt?
me if I'm wrong, but majority that was in favor of it. And I think that everybody there was in the same opinion that we have to move forward, and
Okay.
it would be better. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm listening. Go ahead.
Oh, and then it would be better to go ahead and start with the meters, and it would bring in the more revenue for people, and more precise income coming in with the new meters.
Sure. Okay.
But yet finance did not put that forward.
Right.
Okay, so they would like to see an ordinance created for additional money to be brought in as a capital improvement fund for water. Now, the way the 2015 is written, it's going to go into the operations budget line for sewer. And as we move forward with, right now, I think as we've talked, we want to move forward with the meters, and that's going to come out of operations fund. Is that correct? And
No,
now
meters,
there's, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Meters would come out of the capital improvement fund of water.
The water. Okay.
Okay.
Isn't that correct, Michelle?
Yeah, I think the meters are a capital improvement. So I don't know how much money's in that fund, but that's what the increase would be. Our sewer increase is under capital.
It doesn't appear to be capital fund when I look at the ordinance in front of me. There's no mention
Oh,
of
I'm
capital.
sorry, no, I'm so sorry, you're right, I just opened it up, it's operating, right, the increase is operating, not capital.
Right.
For
Right.
sewer.
For sewer.
Yeah.
Right,
Sewer is operating.
Okay,
The
but the
sewer.
water would, if we went ahead with the water, that would be capital improvement.
if that's what
Correct,
you
is that
guys
what-
want to recommend. Oops, get rid of that.
And I don't think we can just, we would have to look at the ordinance and how it was written, because I think if we're doing it for the water fund as a capital improvement, we need to add it on to, there's a line on the bills, and I'm sorry, since I don't get a bill, there is a line that Jenny has said in the past goes into capital fund. And it's like $1 or $3 each month. And I don't know
Right.
what that's called. And I think if we're looking at this going into a separate fund for capital improvements in the water, it can't be in the rates. It shouldn't be in the rates at this point.
Let me know when you're done, Paula, and I'll
Go
explain.
ahead.
Okay, the way the water bill comes out is broken down to water and sewer. And then the administrative assistant has to break down the $2 water CI improvement and the capital improvement sewer CI. So, but it doesn't show separately on the bill. In fact, John and I have been discussing that it should be listed so people know how much of their bill is going to capital improvements. And the system is capable of doing that. Mary Ann, through her training, those were some of the questions that we had come up with and she had asked. So the system can do that. And then that saves her time from going back and having to go through everybody's water and sewer bills, those some that have water, some don't have sewer, and break that down for Jenny so Jenny can get it into the right funds. Did I explain that well enough, Paula?
Oh,
So-
that's the way
so-
I would see, it would have to go. And if
Well,
Mary Ann
I've
has,
always felt that it should be that way.
yeah, and I think that the $30 that we've put on sewer needs to come out of the operating funds, because at this point, we are looking for that to go to support the ongoing operation of the sewer plant, because we
Right.
don't have enough money in there to accommodate it, from what I've seen.
Right.
And if we want to put forward an ordinance for capital improvements in the water plants, because that's where the highest bills are, capital improvement needs are, I'm sorry.
Yes,
We need-
because right now, I'm sorry, Paula, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Right, because right now, what we're going to need, don't forget, we're gonna have to, on the capital improvements for the reservoir that we will be starting later this year. And if we do the meters, so we'll have if you do that, we'll have funds coming in to support the reservoir and the meters without hopefully, having to advance money out of the general fund again.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, well, I think that I feel comfortable with taking their recommendation to council. I agree with Paula. I think it needs to be a separate ordinance. And I also agree that it needs to be a capital improvement, not the operating fund. So how do we go about this, Michelle? Can anybody hear Michelle?
No.
No, I can't hear. her. She has her speaker off or it's
I
showing her
heard-
block.
Sorry, the dog was running through. Sorry, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. Yes. The section of the code is 921.08B, which is currently a $2 capital charge for water. So I guess you would just recommend an amendment to that section to whatever amount you want. And recommend that to council, and I'll write it up.
Did you say 921.018?
08.
Thank you.
B.
How do you feel about that, Paula?
What a question.
No, I know.
You know, I just
I
think
don't
about,
feel good about it either, but
oh, I was surprised that Ben was the one. I mean, in the,
So was I, Paula, so was I.
yeah.
well, when I first read it, I was wondering if maybe Ben wanted to make the 30-40, not make it
Instead
the
of-
30-70.
Yeah.
And
Bob,
maybe that is what he meant. That could be what he meant. I don't know. Bob, what's your opinion on that?
well, we went back and forth, but I think he ended up saying 30, meaning 30.
30
Meaning
total or
30
30 for water and? I'm
30
sorry,
for
Paula, go
water.
ahead. And 30 for sewer, being a total of 60.
Yes,
Okay.
okay. So then the question becomes, right now we have $2 on the bills for water and capital. Are we
Right.
taking that to $30 for water capital or 32?
That's a good question. The way
We should
that,
leave, it-
go ahead, Bob.
we should leave the $2 on there and then add the 30 on top. That's my opinion.
I would go with that.
Okay,
One of you need to make a motion then to increase the CI in water by $30, making it a total of 32.
I will make that motion.
Second,
Mary Ann, that was Scott.
Bob second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye. Wow, okay. Like we didn't have enough going on.
Right.
Okay, let's move on to new business. Did everybody get the opportunity to see the letter from the county or read the letter from the county?
yes.
Mayor, do you want to expand on that?
Okay. At your request at last service meeting, you asked me to send a letter to the commissioners again. And I did, which I had also shared with you what I had sent. I'm sorry, I don't have a copy of it in your packets, but it's available. As you can see that they are willing to sit down and talk with us. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because I keep getting a lot of background static. So they gave us a range of $16,000 to $18,000 per month. Which I think we need to lock them down on an exact price. And I did reach out to Gene, and he said he wanted to set up a meeting with me to do this with, I said one of the other members, I think it was Todd Braggs from the county, and John True. And right now I am not comfortable having a physical meeting with people. Michelle had recommended that we could do a Zoom meeting with them. So I haven't had a chance today to talk to Gene about that. But when we talked, he asked me what I had in mind. And I said, well, I would like the same thing that we had with them before when they were running the plants for us. I said, but we're going to have to tweak it to make sure that we are specific in everything, because I think that they didn't give it to us, but they did more than I think that the contract said. Don't you, John? As far as bringing their equipment up and helping us in so many ways. I mean, yes,
Oh.
they did bill us for it, but we got decent pricing on what they did.
Absolutely. And lab fees and everything else, they didn't even charge us for that. It was just included in the price. Whereas now we're paying for all that. We're
Right.
paying for all that for the outside contractor, plus we're paying lab fees to the county now.
So I also, when I spoke with him, I said, what things are the commissioners looking for? Just so I wanted to sound out with him so I could share with you guys. And he said, one of the things that the commissioners want is that if they agree to operate our plants, they want to see us to start making capital improvements on the needs list. So I said I would bring that up. Well, two things right off the bat would be, excuse me, the reservoir, because that was on the needs list.
Mhm.
And that, again, we're gonna be starting that project. And if we move forward with the meters, that's two sizable projects for
Those-
our village. So
Sure.
I think that they would be happy with that, but they want a commitment that we're gonna continue to do things to start knocking at the list, knocking it down. And I also had said to him, and I don't know if anyone else read it, the letter the same as me. When I first read it, I thought, oh, they'll run our plants for the next, on a contract for 10 years, but they don't want to go back into negotiations. And apparently that was just the way I took it. And he said, no, they still intend to, when we can, go back into negotiations for the possible merger. And then this contract would go away if a merger were to happen. But we're protecting ourselves by, not that EnviroLink isn't doing a fine job. It's just that if we save $4,000 or $5,000 a month, that's $4,000 or $5,000 to go towards capital improvements. So I guess, let you guys know, you think about this, we'll bring it up at the council meetings for council to tell me, do they want me to move forward into a second negotiation, so to speak, to write up a contract and bring it back to council, and they would take it to the commissioners to see if we're all in agreement on that. And I'm done.
I agree. I agree with you, Mayor. I think we need to lock it down, like you said, 16 or 18,000 per month. But I also think we need to put in there not to exceed, a not to exceed amount. And we don't have a choice, but we have to move forward with capital improvements, and the reservoir and the meters is definitely something we're moving towards.
Do you think that's
Okay.
enough for them?
Scott,
Yeah.
they've got on the end of this. They can do it based on overtime too. So
No. I mean, do you think that those
Oh, those
capital
projects?
improvements? Yeah.
yeah,
And like, when are they gonna, how are they gonna regulate that? Well, John, I guess this is a question for you.
They're
Like,
not gonna be, they're
how
gonna
would
be,
how would they look at it when we get those two projects done? I mean, what do you think they're going to expect next?
well,
If
they
we
can only.
don't have a contract with them.
Exactly. I don't think we're required to do anything except required to move forward on the capital improvement projects, such as the meters, the $50,000, the $5,000 to clean, those type of things. As long as we're trying to make progress, I think they would be happy. And I know the mayor has corresponded with Gene, and that's what I believe we'd still have to do, is just making progress, because after we do these two large projects with the meters and the reservoir, they're gonna have to be smaller projects, because we're not gonna have any money. And
Sure.
to finance, it's gonna be very difficult.
Sure. Okay. Well, I think everybody put in your opinion, but I think it's worth trying to save an extra $4,000 a month if we can, or more, with going with the county.
Absolutely.
And the meters, we need to do regardless. I mean, that's one capital improvement we've talked about for months now, that we really do need to. I mean, we need to take care of that. So that would be one
And
factor.
it'll free up our staff for 2 to 3 days, whatever it takes to read only 50% of the meters.
Correct. Right. Okay, Linda, do we need to make a motion to kick this up to council, or do we just assume that we're going to move this up to council?
I don't think that we have to. Michelle, if you can hear us, I think that because you had asked me to do this letter, I can just present it to them at council without a motion. Isn't that correct, Michelle?
As long as you're not recommending that council take some action to approve something this month, then.
The only action would be that we
Negotiate.
go into the negotiations.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the feeling in this letter that Jean was requiring us to go back into negotiations, but to enter a contract in the range of 16 to 18,000 based on the amount of overtime required. So the way I read this is that it would kind of start off at 16,000, and then if there was overtime requirement, it could go up to 18. That's my reading.
And that's where we need clarification on that. As far as the I guess we're using the wrong term because we're in negotiations for a possible merger with them to take over the whole facilities. This would be a contract, let's call it a contract, for them to provide us with a service. But we need to narrow it down to specifics so that they say $16,000 up to 18, that not to exceed $18,000 with overtime or something like that.
Right.
Does
Not
that
to,
make sense,
Perfect,
Paula?
perfect.
Okay, the other question is going to be, and I think this is to protect the county, is in his letter, it also says, need to agree to a long-term arrangement for a minimum of 10 years. Well, if that's the case, then we probably need to write into that contract a 3% increase per year, something to that effect.
Okay. I'm writing, Paula.
Okay. And if, yeah, we can only forward this recommendation at
Right.
this point until we get the contract written, and then that has to go to the council, is what I would expect.
mhm.
So
Correct.
we really won't be able to take it
Absolutely.
to council until May.
Well, do we need to even, do we need to even bring this up at council? I mean, everybody knows that you're talking with the county. Do we just, can we agree to have you iron this out with Jean before it goes to council? Like maybe have a rock solid contract and then take it to council? I mean, there's no reason to slow things down if you can set up a meeting with Jean before that.
Right, and so instead of, and excuse me, Scott, but if we're talking finances and funding, it would be nice to have that contract in place before we go and have it presented at finance. And maybe we should request, and put this on the mayor again, to see if we could get the contract established by finance, which is in, what is it, the 19th? So it's only a week away.
Linda?
That's a lot.
I can, the only thing I can do is try. If not, then we'll have to bump it up to next month, finance.
Okay.
And if that's the case, then I would have a draft contract to show service and council both. Then everybody sees it prior to the meeting.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, if you,
I
if
will
that works.
try. I'll try for the 19th. Depends on everybody's schedule.
Yeah, exactly.
Michelle, do you have any problems with that and trying to get it to council? Well, trying to get something, if possible, drafted by,
No, I don't think there would be a problem with that because I think we'd base it on the contract we used from before when they were providing the service, and we'll just add a few things to it regarding the capital improvements and maybe your increase, your annual increase or whatever. But what I would like to see tonight is if you guys could just vote to ask the mayor to and me if you want me to draft up to work with Jean to draft up a agreement to present to council, if possible, for April's meeting. A vote for that on the record would be great.
I so move.
Second.
All eyes.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, good move. That was. Okay, Linda, now it's on you and John.
And Michelle.
Okay,
Come
And
on.
Michelle. Yeah.
okay, before we move on to the other discussions, let's talk about the meters. And you have in front of you, or you should have, the quotes. And on the quotes, there's the one for $7,719.99. That's for the reading equipment that they would take when they go down the streets, or however it works, and reads everyone's meter. If it doesn't read, it gives them like a little red flag that tells them that they have to go in and read it. And what this is replacing the whole meter. So everybody's meter will be the same age. It's not just replacing the top. We could have gone with the tops and it would have been cheaper, but some people's meters are 3 years old, some are 20 years old. And as they get older, they don't read, they read slower, is what I've been told. So Ray should be here somewhere, and let me get to page 2. The actual meters herself, and that's including the compound meter that we would need for Manaline, and I think that they already have a compound meter that Ray's company supplies to them. The meters themselves with the installation, his company doing the installation is $162,050. So the two of those together is about 170. And we had said, if you look on the finance page, $200,000. That's for incidentals if they have problems when they get into somebody's house installing the meter and that kind of thing. Ray, do I have that right wherever you're at?
That is correct. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Sure can.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, it would be $170,000 for material. I did put together a governmental lease that is at a lower interest. It could be done in either a 3-year, a 5-year, 7-year lease. And that would give you the ability to put the entire project in and pay annual payments for those remaining years in order to complete the project. At the end, the material is yours for $1. Everything is there, and it's just a way of being able to divide that up so that you won't have to make all your payments at once. I understand your capital is very important, since you have the reservoir is the other big factor that you're trying to get into as far as the project completion list. So this would allow you to get these meters in very quickly in a short period of time. Our team with the installation would set up all the appointments. We would get inside and complete the installations and provide that back to your billing software so you have all of that updated data. The portion that Linda described as far as the meter reading portion, it is a radio-based technology, so we're not really going up to every house. With the 500 accounts that you do have, probably take about 10 minutes, and within the first 5 minutes, you may collect over half of them with the reading device, collecting all of those reads. It'll go into an individual account number, and then it'll collect that information, and then you could just easily download that to your billing software. The process is really a matter of getting all this data, one of which you're not going to have to go house to house. And unfortunately, in this recent time period, it's not even presentable to try to get inside every home in order to do the normal meter reading that you're trying to get. So this is just a process, and it improves the safety in the winter months. If you're only going to spend about 15 to 20 minutes in reading meters, that'll save one of the time that you do your reading now. That data will be accurate. All the meters will be the same as far as they'll all be new meters. So for the next 20 years, they should flatline for you and improve the ability to collect readings accurately, efficiently. Accurately is important because what your meters are now doing is some meters are at 98% correct, and then others are at 80%. So you're losing a lot of revenue from your water. And if you could just, everybody gets the same bill, a fair bill of whatever they're using. And that's really the whole promotion behind the metering program, is that you get good information, and what you're pumping versus what you're billing is crucial for you as a utility. The more losses you have, the more you're going to have to raise your rates in order to cover your costs. So hopefully that could be put back into your system and allow you to do all the other services that you need.
I agree. This is something we need to go forward with, and
Oh,
we all
yes.
know it. And the one question, well, at least I'll start with one question, is on the information in front of me, the quotation from Neptune, it's does the Neptune meter upgrade. Now, when the mayor was talking, she had indicated that we may have to go inside some of the homes to actually replace the meter there and then install something in the exterior.
No,
So this $228 per meter, that would cover the new replacement meter and its installation?
Okay. To kind of explain the labor, what we're going to do is schedule the appointments. We will need to get inside to replace the meters, because I believe all of your meters are inside homes and not inside not in a pit or a vault out in the front yard.
Okay.
So we will have to schedule an appointment. That'll take about 30 to 45 minutes to do everything. We're going to get inside, replace the existing meter. They're usually located in the basement. We'll have an appointment. They're going to know who we are before we come. If I'm there between 9 and 9:45, we're going to get inside. They'll be waiting. It's not going to be a surprise. We'll identify ourselves and go in, replace the meter, do the paperwork, make sure everything's correct, and make sure it reads by the time we say goodbye and leave and let them close the door. We don't want to go in there multiple times. We just want to go inside. The meter will have the meter, the register dial, and the RF transmitter that is located on top of the register, and all of that is going to be incorporated. So there's not going to be any additional wires to run up to an outside remote. Now it can be done that way, but it'll make the installation more fast without having to run a wire through someone's basement and then drill a hole through the wall to get it outside and remote and attach it on the outside. So we'll be able to read the radio frequency transmission. It just sends a immediate burst and sends that information out. It's only about 2 seconds that it sends that information out. It is collected by the meter reader, who is most likely going to be in a vehicle just driving by, and then it'll collect all that information of all the homes that are there.
yeah, Paula, there won't be any more outside remotes. It's all on this little radio antenna on top of the meter. And also, Ray, if some of the other things, if there's something like a toilet running and it starts in your house and it runs 30 seconds every hour, it's going to send a flag to us that we could say, call them and say, hey, you might want to have a plumber out. You're showing an occurrence that's not normal for your house. Am I explaining that right, Ray?
You are correct. What is going to happen at the end of that monthly reading cycle, it's going to say, I have read every hour for the last 30 days, and it's going to store that information. It says if I got multiple times that I had water usage. Generally, all of us use our water is used early in the morning. You get up, you go, you start your breakfast, everything, and then if you leave during the workday, you're going to have a few hours that you're not going to have water usage, and then you come back at the end of the day, and then you'll have normal usage. So that's generally the cycle. The time that we're all sleeping, for the most part, we are not using much water. It's you're not doing your laundry, you're not doing some of those things. We're all sleeping. So you're going to have many hours, and that's what this does, is it reads to see if anything's being used during those period of time. If I get a little bit of usage on 24 hourly usages, that tells me that you have a constant, either a toilet that's leaking, outside spigot or faucets being used on a regular basis. Sometimes people have humidifiers or some type of water usage that is happening every single hour. What we want to do is just let you know that you have a potential problem and let that homeowner know so that they can correct that problem so that they don't have this ongoing. A small leak will add up to a lot of extra usage. And if you can keep your bill pretty consistent by just fixing the flapper valve, that'll be a lot lower cost as overall usage that you really didn't anticipate in using. So it will measure all of that. It'll give you a report. And if somebody has a complaint or a question, they'll be able to see that information in a graph that said, here's what I'm seeing. And if you correct if you got a small leak in your toilet, correct that, we can do the same evaluation again, and we can determine that that is gone and your bill should go down lower to more reasonable what you've had before this toilet problem. So yes, it is in an information gathering purpose as well.
That sounds excellent to me, and I would like to see us go forward with accepting the proposal.
I
So,
agree.
Paul, if I can interrupt, I did ask Ray to get us one more cost. I didn't realize it would be so much, but I don't want to not share it with you. John, you may have to help me on my terminology. I had asked him for a quote for them to put in a backflow with each meter. And would you explain what the backflow, basically, if something were to happen somewhere else in the village, it would keep the backflow would keep your water from sucking out of your house. Am I explaining that right? John and Ray?
Yeah, you got one, Ray? Okay, go ahead, Ray.
Yes. This is the same, let me get my visual here. This is the same meter that the city of Kent is using. It is a double check, testable backflow device. What happens is water goes through the meter. It has to go through two valves that stop the water from once it goes in, it does not leave the home. So if they have, if there's running water and they fill up a swimming pool that's been out of season all year, and they have a back pressure situation. You had a main break today. Is that something I heard?
Yes.
Where
Yes.
water eventually will pull back if there is a main break. If there's nearby homes, that water will leave the house and be pulled back into your water system. That black water that from the whole season of a swimming pool sitting idle, sunshine, that potentially could go back in there. And that's the reason for a backflow protection, is so that once the water goes in, it stays safe. You've chlorinated, protected that water. You give it to the residents. If they give you, if they're sharing their water that they've already had in their property, that's the reason for the backflow. So we have a testable device on the top of this meter. So everything's incorporated in the meter, so it fits in there without having to cut the water line in order to put a separate backflow device. In your larger meters, you're going to put a backflow device in separately, and you'll have two different constructions.
and okay, Mayor, you brought that up. Is there an extra cost for having the different
Yes.
device? Okay,
Yes.
and that would be,
That's, Ray, if I only quickly looked at it before I logged on. That was it an additional $313,000, or was that
That's a total
the
of
162 went up
316,000.
to?
For this meter, what it also will include is a thermal expansion tank. Does anybody know what a thermal expansion tank is? All right, once you
Yes.
close all this water in here, every time you use your hot water tank, it heats the water and expands the water in your water lines. So if you've got 15 gallons of water line in your home, as you heat that up and don't use the water, you're now going to have 16, 17 gallons of water as it expands. So you'll have more expansion there, and it can't go back. back into the water line. So what it does is this thermal expansion just absorbs like a big water balloon, and it absorbs, allows that water into the balloon so that you don't have, when you have your hot water on and it's heating up and you're not using your water. So you go away for the weekend, it just allows to adjust for that, so the water inside each home is protected. So we would have to put a thermal expansion tank that's cut in right by the hot water tank, and it just allows that expansion to happen when the hot water heats up. So along with the backflow, if we're going to put them all in, you have to put the expansion tank in there as part of the service. You could go turn that back to each homeowner to do, but it's a heck of a lot easier to just get it all done at one time. So it does double the cost of the meter replacement and the meter cost, but it's your choice if you want to put a backflow device at every service.
I would say that wouldn't be recommended to every zone, and double the cost is, we wouldn't have to do that.
Well,
I agree with John. That's too much of a burden on
Right, I
on
just
the
wanted
resident.
to throw it out there because it had been recommended to me.
I don't disagree with all of you that are saying this. If you put a backflow device in, much like at the large business that's in your community now, they have a thermal expansion tank. They also have a backflow device. That is by Ohio ordinance, it needs to be tested. EPA has to be tested on a yearly basis.
Oh,
If you put it in, you got to test it. So
That's correct.
the whole purpose of this, if you choose not, you can go to small residential properties that may have a business at home and put that in there, and that way you could ask each of those residential business homes that are doing light business out of their home to put a thermal expansion and a backflow device in that home to protect the water system. For the most part, you're just looking to see most of your properties are just using the water, and the likelihood of a backflow occurrence is maybe light, and that's your decision as a utility.
if we don't take on the extra cost with the backflow thermal expansion tanks installed, does it bring a potential lawsuit to the village that we would have to get involved with?
If you're asking me, that's a good question. I'll just say as a parent, you make good decisions every single day, and the intention is not to harm the water system. And as far as going through, if you do some interviews, maybe questionnaires, if they do have a swimming pool, hot tub, if they have some kind of a sprinkler system in their yard, all of those are components that say that's a higher risk. For the most part, most homeowners are, the biggest part is they're running a garden hose out there with something that might enhance your flowers to grow longer. So you're attaching a liquid container, but by and large, you're not trying to put something that could harm somebody if the water does leaves the property and goes out into your water system. So what you have in most of your residential homes, in over 450 other water utilities here in Ohio, most of them do not have a backflow device in the residential services.
Okay, the backflow device, though, is already quoted in the $170,000 to $200,000 range. So
It
it's
is-
just
it's in
thermal.
The backflow device, it's, if you look at the top line item, it does with the backflow meter, it does have the integrated RF. It's an R, the backflow device is inside. Your standard meter
Ray?
does not have that.
Okay, okay,
Ray,
so,
excuse me, Ray.
Yep.
Ray, I
Yep.
didn't have time to print this off and send it to anyone because I had left the office before you sent it to me. So
Okay.
they are not seeing any of the latest quotes. but it was
Okay.
like $313,000 for the meters with the backflow preventers versus 160, correct?
Correct, correct. So you're looking at, with all the radio technology and the standard meter, that'll do everything for about $170,000. It is $313 if you want the meter to include the backflow, all encompassed in the same meter. So every home will have backflow protection, which will be, I mean, you're putting the best protection you can at every home in order to not allow that the water, once it goes in, it'll stay where it needs to be. So it's your choice, and it really comes down to what is the best position for the village going forward.
Right, so Paula, so with the backflow preventer and all that apparatus, it doubles, basically.
It does.
Okay, okay, that's what I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure when they threw in that thermal expansion tank, whether that's what caused it to double, but it's the backflow.
It is the
And Paula, if I may say, that backflow prevention law, and there's a whole separate section of law in Ohio EPA that covers that. If indeed they have pools or business, they're covered under that and they would be tested. We do test several of them, like in schools and so forth. So that's all covered under a separate law section. The residential, as Ray said, we don't need those for residential homes. Even in Aurora, with over 11,000 households, only a few had that. With sprinkler systems and stuff like that, it's required on install. And maybe you could leave it as an option for them, but I wouldn't recommend going forward with that right now, not with this project and where our finances are.
Well, I can go along with that from the financial perspective. The one thing that would bother me is what happens when EPA changes their laws, their rules. Well, can they come back and demand we put in backflow protection?
No, they wouldn't come back on that. The backflow protection's only on those that have sprinkler systems and everything else now, and your industrial plants, et cetera. That's what the EPA has been recommending now. And I've read nothing that says they're going to recommend that in every household at this time.
I sure would hate to see that swimming pool dirty water backing up though into our system.
Well, they're not even supposed to discharge it with, when they fill it, it's supposed to be filled to separate, not with a hose. That's a problem. When they do that, that's an illegal fill. It shouldn't be having your hose in the water. That should be better practices.
Okay, so it's only gonna suck it out if the hose is in there.
Correct, or somebody hits a hydrant or someone else. That's correct.
Okay. Then I say let's go forward with the quote as presented.
Second,
All ayes?
Aye,
aye.
Aye.
thank you.
Got that, Michelle?
I'm sorry, I just had myself muted. You guys do know that this has to go out for bid because of the expense.
Oh,
John knows
Michelle,
that, and Linda knows that.
yeah,
Oh, so I did forget that. And Ray is aware that it has to go out for bid. The thing is there's not many other companies around besides Netco that does this. So this should be a simple bid packet, I think, John and Ray, probably.
Yes, we have most of it written already, and
That,
Michelle and I went back and forth a little bit, and I think we got some tweaking, but yeah, we can do it.
So really what your recommendation to council would be to authorize John to advertise for bids for the new meters for the village, however you want to word that.
okay. So I would like to forward to council the recommendation that a bid package be put together for the Neptune remote readers installation,
and the reading apparatus.
and the reading apparatus.
Now, can you put it in the bid package that this is the equipment that we want bid?
Yes, I'm gonna put it in the big package, the equipment that we want and, or equal. It has to be that equipment because of this is equipment that the county would use, if it would go forward in November too. So yes, we will put that in the bid packet.
Okay, so it'll be Neptune equipment. I mean, I know you guys have done a lot of research on all this and, you know,
Yes,
I'm just wondering if you word it that way, if that'll kind of weed out some of the riffraff from even wanting to bid on it, you know, if it's Neptune equipment versus or equal equipment.
exactly. And we'll make sure that it's worded properly. That's all.
Okay.
Hey, Scott, I made a motion. And you
You know what? I know
that
you did.
motion.
I will second it.
Okay, thank you.
All eyes.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye. Bob, you with us?
aye, yes.
Gotcha.
Okay, Ray? You
Yes.
still with us, Ray?
Yes, I'm with you.
If you choose to go and relax now for the evening, since we're done with that part of it, that's fine, or you're welcome to stay and listen.
Well, I thank you all for allowing me to sit in on this. This is a interesting experience. Usually I'm face to face, and now I got to be part of your team for just a little over an hour. So I enjoyed the time and I appreciate that. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, I understand that you are going to go out to bid. We do this with every project, and we look forward to working with you if you guys select me. So thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ray.
Thanks, Ray.
Thanks, gang.
Okay. Well, now you got me all messed up, Linda. Now we have to
Sorry.
backtrack. It's all right.
Okay, well, now we're at 941.21 A, B, C, and D.
Gotcha. Yes, we are.
Do you want me to take over again?
Nine
you wanna do this?
41. No, go for it.
I don't think I have-
Okay, 941.21. If you read this, it is very specific in saying all bills are due no later than the 24th of each month in which they are mailed. Due date. Bills not paid by the due date will be considered delinquent, and a late penalty of 10% will be applied to the unpaid balance at that time. I'll stop right there. When Mary Ann first started and it was getting close to the billing season, she was told that we give a 4 or 5 day grace period on all the water bills. And so
2 to 3.
she asked me about it. Huh? 2 to 3?
Yeah.
Mary Ann,
Yeah,
2 to
Jenny
3,
said,
you said?
yeah.
Okay, anywhere from 2 to 5 days, something in that range. So when I said something to Michelle and Michelle and I brought up this ordinance, it does not say anything about giving them a grace period. Now, we do understand, and we did explain to Mary Ann, she leaves at 4:30 on the 24th. Someone can still put a bill in the night drop. And so she needs to process anything that is in that box her next working day, whether that happens on a weekend or during the week or a holiday. She needs to process that. And as soon as she gets all of those deposits done and recorded in her system, then she would close out the month. And so we needed clarification on that. Do we need to change this? Were any of you aware that we were giving a grace period of at least 2 days, 2 or 3 days or more? I was not.
I was not.
I wasn't.
I was not neither. I even
So
think
should
the
we
ma-
just make it?
I know the
I'm
mayor
sorry,
wants a
John?
grace day of a day, but they've already had 24 days to pay it. I don't know why. I understand the mail, Dropbox and everything else, but that's my opinion. I'm a
Yeah,
fiscal.
John and I don't agree on the 20th. He says when Mary Ann leaves on the 24th, that's it. I say they have till the next morning.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah,
and-
Because we don't know if they came in at 5 o'clock or at 7:59 in the morning before she got there. So that's up to you guys to decide, are we gonna enforce what's in place or are we gonna change something? Pretty simple one.
I think we enforce what's in place. I do
Second.
agree with you that the 25th at 10 o'clock would be it. You know, I mean, if she gets into work and processes whatever was dropped off that night, I mean, if somebody dropped it off on their way home or whatever, then she has the next morning to look at them and then that's that. But I mean, I would agree with that, Linda, your plan. But yeah, I don't,
Paula? You reading right now,
I'm
Paula?
reading and I'm trying to think about the way to kind of word that. All bills will be due no later than the 24th day of the month in which they are mailed. The bills received on the 24th, I don't know, would be posted, and any bill payment received on the 24th at midnight would be posted the following day. I mean, that way, put it in the Dropbox. Yeah, it might be 7:59 a.m., but
How about this? I have a suggestion. Instead of trying to make it go over into the next day, why don't you just have, they must all be received by 4 PM on the 24th day of the month? Then there's no question when they have to be received. You can't come at
Yeah, that's cleaner. That's
and
cleaner.
drop
Yeah.
it,
Yeah,
or at
that
midnight
is.
drop it.
Her day ends
but
at
if they
4:30,
drop
so.
it in and Mary Ann leaves, I don't know. It's cleaner, but
Yeah, but
is there
Mary Ann
still
doesn't
gonna
have
be
to,
problems created?
she doesn't have to process them before she leaves. She just needs to clean out the box. The box is empty at 4:30 when she leaves. That's it. That's done.
Okay.
If
Okay.
there's anything in there in the morning when she comes in, then it's late. No, I mean,
Yep.
that sounds good. I mean, 4 PM on the 24th day. And then all she
At
has
the
to
end
do
of the yep, at the end of the business day on the 24th, if it's 4 o'clock or 4:30 that she leaves. It has
Right.
to be mailed or dropped off by the end of the business day at 4:30 or 4 o'clock on the 24th.
How about
Right.
received?
received, right?
Received.
Right, because
Yes.
Bob, if you say mailed, then are you saying if it's postmarked on the 24th?
It has to be, it has to be
She can get it on the
received.
29th
Received.
because the mail in Mantua takes 5 days?
No,
Okay.
received.
I
It has
just
to
want
be
to, want to
received.
make sure we're covering everything. I don't agree with you guys, but you guys are the voting members, not me, so.
Yeah, received.
I think that's gonna be a little tough to coordinate.
Train people.
Yeah.
People are used, well, right now, people are used to coming in 2 or 3 days later and getting the credit back on their 10% penalty that they won't be getting any longer, but
1 or 2
It's
months
gonna
of
be
getting
what it's gonna
10% will change their actions pretty quick.
What happens if the 24th falls on a Saturday
or a holiday, Christmas
or a
Eve.
holiday?
Mary Ann leaves at noon on Christmas Eve.
We only, yeah,
So when I come in the next morning,
I
would
think it,
when I come
I
in the
think
next
it
morning,
should at least,
Dropbox and go ahead and process it so it was on time.
so even though we say the 24th at 4 o'clock, 4:30, whatever, you're still gonna process anything that's in the box when you get there the next morning.
Right.
Even though we're not saying that in the legislation.
I think that's the way you almost gotta go with it.
Right. Or the
So maybe-
next, yeah, or the next
Maybe-
business day, Mary Ann. Your first working day, because I mean, if it's the 24th, then you wouldn't be, Christmas Eve, you wouldn't be there till the 26th at 8 o'clock.
Right.
So, or if the 24th is on a Friday and she gets there Monday and that's the 27th, is it going to be considered technically late? So,
I don't think you should. I don't think you can. I don't,
No,
Am I
she-
allowed to talk?
yes, you're allowed to talk.
Okay, I have something to say. I can pull it out of the draw. If you said it was received by midnight on the 24th, when I come in at 8 in the morning, I can pull everything out of the Dropbox and I can process it like it's on the 24th, and it will not be late. And then I could go ahead and run my penalty program, and anything that came in after that would be late. So if you said it was received at midnight on the 24th, then if it's on a Saturday, when I come in on the following Monday, we don't know when it went in there. We don't know if it went in Saturday or Sunday, but if we would process it like it was the 24th. That's my thought.
Yeah, I guess it really doesn't matter whether it's there at 4 or 4:30 on the 24th.
Or midnight.
She's not gonna process it till the next day.
Right. And people are
So-
still going to be there at 7:30 in the morning and dropping it at 7:30. She's not going to know that.
Right.
And that would be fine.
Michelle,
Yes.
can you adjust that wording?
Well, I think you want to set it up so that Marion can use a little bit of discretion in, recognizing when the bills get there. So I think if you set your limit, your deadline, all bill payments must be received no later than 4 p.m. on the 24th day, then, Marion's going to process the 4 p.m. bills the next day. And that's totally reasonable for her to do. But she's not going to process the ones that come in at noon on the 25th as though they came on the 24th.
Well, unless it's Christmas.
Well, yeah, exactly. If she's sitting there in the office on the 25th and she's already, the 25th of October, for instance, and she's already emptied out the mailbox when she walked in that morning, then that's it. Those are the bills that are going to be processed as being on time. So I don't have a problem with this language and using it to train people to get their bills in on time. Because, a couple of late fees and they're going to recognize that, oh yeah, maybe they really do mean get it in by the 24th.
So then we really don't have to change it because that's exactly what it says now.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah, that's fine.
Settled.
Do you have to send out a communication in the past, or some people might have thought that there was a grace period of 2 to 5 days or whatever,
Oh,
moving
there's a lot
forward?
of people that think that.
Okay, well then, moving forward, I just say we come out with a notification. Moving forward, there is no grace period. Or do we
Well-
even need to do that?
There's room on the bills for Marianne to put like 10 words to that effect, right? Bills are due on the 24th. There is no grace period.
Yeah,
Yeah, I could do that.
just a simple
Good.
reminder, yeah.
Okay.
I think
In fact,
the
John, maybe
dog
that's-
second.
Maybe that's how it should be worded, a simple reminder.
Yeah. that-
You know,
that's
I mean,
something-
make it that cordial, just,
Yes, we can do that.
No problem.
Good, then we don't have to change that ordinance.
great. Okay. Now can we move on, Linda?
now we can move on to D in that. We also have,
Oh, gee.
the notification about the bills are, a letter is supposed to be sent out to anyone that is delinquent after 10 days to give them their final notice. Now, right now, we are choosing not to. I don't think the state has state has mandated that we cannot shut anyone off right now, which
The
is
state
just
has done that.
because we never do shut anyone off. That's gonna bring us to another little thing that's going on. So I will stop there. Mary Ann will be sending out delinquent notices. Michelle is working on a letter with her so that we can get them set up on payment plans to help them.
Okay.
And once someone goes on a payment plan, as long as they make their payment on the payment plan and keep their current balance current, we don't charge the 10% interest on it. The late fee goes away as long as they stay with the payment plan. When Mary Ann was discussing this with Michelle, and Michelle said, oh, send me a copy of one of the payment plans, and she sent it to her. It was not the payment plan that Michelle had sent up. Somebody had changed it. So we will be using the one that Michelle had sent up back in 2011 or whenever it was. That is specific in what it states. And if you guys all need me to, I tried to print it off, Michelle, but it wouldn't let me print it. It was blocked somehow, and I just haven't had a chance to contact you with everything else that's been going on. And she's got her sound off again.
Do you want me to pull it up and read it to you all, or do you not care?
Maybe just put it in our council packets. I mean, because you're not asking us to make a decision right now.
No, we were just gonna.
No, just making us
We can even
aware.
email it to you.
Yeah.
Email, that's
Yeah, do
fine.
that. Yep, do
That's
that.
fine.
Okay. Got it.
And so then we'll be, and like I say, we're not going to be shutting anybody off. It's just going to be that. So that brings us to the next question as far as moving on to 921.02J and 941.22. You guys are going to ask me not to come to your meetings anymore. Look at Paula. I saw that, Paula. Okay, this came about because we passed legislation in 2018. If you read the 941.22, the master meter, it says that basically if you have one lateral going into your building and one meter, the way I'm reading it, and we know that you have 7 units, okay? So you've paid for your water bill for the whole building. And the way that this reads, that base charge for 0 to 235 is added on. Say you have 7 units, you're adding that 45 times 7 on top of that water bill. Am I explaining that right, Michelle? Is she not listening to me?
You're getting the base rate for each meter.
Right.
Right. Okay.
So if there's 7 units, you're paying the water bill plus the 40, I'm going to say 45. That's a little more than that for the 7 units. So that person, and in this case, it is Jim Mockney, has a water bill for the old Mantua hardware store at the corner there of almost $800 a month because he's paying for all the water in the building, and then he's paying this $45 times 7 on top of that. To me, that seems, I realize we need the revenue, but I think that maybe you should consider tweaking this, so if he's paying the whole water bill already, and he is paying the CI fees for each unit, then he should only have to pay the 45, say if he has 7 units and 2 of them are empty. So he needs to report to us that he has 2 that are empty and let us know who moved out so that we know that they're empty. That seems reasonable to me.
The
I mean,
charge
we have the
just
same
for the
situation.
empty units.
Just charge that on the empty units.
Correct. And
That's like,
that's what should be happening. Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
I think
I
something.
mean, they still have to pay the $2. I'm sorry, Mary Ann, go ahead.
I think it should be in writing though from the resident that they want, that it's empty and then it should be shut off. So we have something actually in writing so it doesn't become a he said, she said kind of thing. You know, he says it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, because we do have another situation I'm bringing up too. So I don't know how you guys, if you guys want to address this tonight, if you want to bring it up at council for all of council to decide. And I know we're going to get there and everybody's going to say, well, this is a service issue, so send it back to service. If you guys want to make the recommendation and send it before council, even if it's not tonight, because it's getting late already, to do this.
Well, I agree with John. I agree with you and John personally. I think and Mary Ann, if they have 2 units that are empty, then they need to tell us who moved out. They need to tell us which units are empty, and that's the 2 units they need to be charged for. But if he's paying his total bill, then I don't think the other 5 units should be getting charged. I mean, that's a lot of money. You know, to
Yes.
he's paying the total water bill. I mean, I get
Plus
it.
he's paying the capital, yeah. Plus
Yeah,
paying
yeah.
the capital improvement for each unit. That has to be paid no matter what,
Correct.
occupied or not.
Correct.
And that's why we need to break that down on the bill. And John can make that decision on breaking that down. That doesn't have to go before council. That's just a
Okay.
bill.
So,
And in the long run, that will help multiple ways, because then we will be notified that somebody has moved out, and Mary Ann can share that with Jenny, so Jenny can let Rita know that someone has moved out and the date they moved out. Or when we have a new resident move in, Mary Ann we've told her that any new residents, she shares that information with Jenny so it can get into the tax records.
That's all dependent on the renter, the rent, yeah, the landlord.
Yeah, the landlord.
Right.
Yeah.
okay. Can I, here's what we have right now, 94122, where 1 meter serves multiple industrial, commercial, or residential units. Charges shall be as followed. The monthly minimum shall be multiplied by the number of units served by the meter for consumption up to the base rate. I won't read the whole thing. Do you want it to be changed to be the number of occupied units served by the meter?
And it's upon, well, then it becomes, oh, I don't know.
Because then they're gonna say, oh, I only have 2 occupied.
Linda, we didn't catch you on.
The reason that, let me give you a real quick scenario, because that's what Chelsea had told me, that's the way she was doing it. And I said, is everyone being charged that way? And she said, yes. And I said, well, when you give me the history report, I look at other people's bills. And I said, I see one place that has 1 meter and 3 units, and their water bill is $163 a month. I said, so you haven't added that $45 on 3 times, because that would be $135. And so 3 units only used $45 worth of water in a month. Now that's really unreasonable. And that's when we found out supposedly that when we sent the legislation to the Tyler Tech people, no one followed up on it.
Linda,
They didn't
you're
get all
talking into the piece
yeah.
of paper. We
Yes,
can't
ma'am.
hear you. I'm sorry.
Oh. So, well, it doesn't matter. It's just that there was a glitch with Tyler Tech and not a follow-up on the legislation. And so we need to make sure that we have this specific and make sure we follow up when we send Tyler Tech legislation that they need to address in our billing system.
Okay.
That's the short and sweet of it. Because that hadn't been done and there were some mistakes that were not followed up on through Tyler Tech when they didn't follow through with the legislation correctly. So you guys make your recommendation to Michelle on how you want to do that or not. So we can move on to the next thing.
Hey, Bob, do you have any input on this?
Yeah, I think, I agree. If the water bill is paid and there's one lateral going to 1 meter and 1 or 2 of the residents is vacant, then the landlord shouldn't be billed for those unoccupied units.
Paula?
They shouldn't be paid. So they shouldn't have the capital improvement extra on that, is what you're saying. And then it's leaving it up to, and Mary, you're shaking your head no. I'm just all confused on this.
Okay, real quick, somebody would read the water meter for somebody that has 7 units. And on those 7 units, besides the water bill, they pay the $2 on water and $2 on sewer capital for all 7 units. Whether there's one person living in the whole one occupied or not, they always have to pay the CI for each unit. But if they have 7 units and 2 of them are empty, we've lost revenue because somebody isn't there. So we charge the base water fee, which is 0 to 235 is like $45 and some odd cents. So the property owner would have to pay for those 2 empty units, that 45.22 times 2, instead of the 45.22 times 7, which they're paying right now, in addition to paying the whole water bill already. Did I explain that better that time?
Yes, you did.
I think so, yeah.
You did. And so he's been getting charged the 40, what was it, 4207? Is that what you said? Or 45?
45 something, yeah,
45 something on all 7 units. And
per unit.
per unit, plus the usage of the water for all the units, so the water and sewer, and he's current on the bill. He's not delinquent on the bill. Yeah, that makes absolutely no sense. If he has 2 units that are empty, then he needs to pay the $45 on those 2 units, but not on the 5 that are occupied. They're getting charged the water and sewer rate.
How is that going to come into play with the, we may need to look at this and discuss it a little bit more, because right now we're saying we've got to put a CI, increase our CI on water to $32. And capital improvement, then does that get charged to each of the 7 units? Because realistically, they're using, it's available to them all. Or do we say, okay, landlord, you don't have them occupied, so we won't charge you for the 2 that you don't have occupied? And then it's like, oh my gosh.
Well, I guess that takes us back to the legislation on the CI charges. Is the CI charge going to be on meter, per meter, or is it going to be on per unit? Because again, there would be Jim Mockney paying $32 times 7 again. So you guys have, so I guess, yeah, that's something, and we probably should clarify that on the $32 sewer CI that you have going before council. Is it going to be on meter, or is it going to be, and not forgetting that our legislation does say, and I don't have it, Michelle could probably find it quickly, that when someone, you're not supposed to have 1 meter for one building. Our legislation right now reads a meter for each unit. Like Mrs. Stutzman, who had the 4 meters, and over Christmas she went and put a master meter in, so she wouldn't have to pay a surcharge on all, not a surcharge, a CI charge on each unit. Our legislation is different from the counties, where the county allows 1 capital improvement charge per meter and would allow 1 meter. Our legislation right now reads there is supposed to be 1 meter, or one meter per each unit you have. How a few of these buildings in town from 100 years ago, they never made them put multiple meters in for each one of their units. That's behind us. I mean, we can't
Right.
go back and make them add more meters, but we certainly can't allow businesses that have 4 meters to change it back to 1 when we have legislation in place already. So
Then
I
maybe
don't
we
know.
need to adjust the
It's
legislation that's in place and say that they have the option of going to 1 meter, and then they handle it. And that way, when they are transferred to the county, it's in place. It's just, you know, because now we've got it both ways, and that just doesn't work. So I'd rather see that we say 1 meter, 1 charge, you know, and 1 capital improvement charge, and not try to, because otherwise you're mixing it up and it's going to be a nightmare to control.
Well, can
John?
I bring-
Yes.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, the legislation now is 1 meter per unit. We have to stick with the legislation, and we can't go with the county stuff. The county does that because they have 20,000 units to do that. We don't have that luxury, and it's 501 could be reduced down to 400 something if you do that. It's those 501 units are based on not per unit per building, but per unit per meters and meter billings. So that's just something to think about when you do. When the county changes it, they take it over, they can do that. But I say for us to do it, we'd have to change a lot more in our ordinances. Correct, Michelle?
Well, yes, and I guess my point is, first of all, when we started with the, what Linda read a little bit ago, the 1 base charge per each unit on the meter, we only changed that barely a year ago because we were losing a lot of revenue in these multiple unit, both commercial and residential, where there were multiple units on 1 meter. So we changed that so that every unit would get charged the base rate, and then the tiered rates would also be charged appropriately. So it's a little more complicated than say you pay for your water and you pay the base rates. It's supposed to work out so that everybody gets charged the right amount, like, you know, I'm not sharing a water charge with my neighbors on both sides because we each have our own meters, but if there was only one meter, we should still pay the extra money. I can appreciate, you know, you wanting to change it to each occupied unit on the meter. But then you would have to put the burden on the landlord to inform the village administrator when a unit becomes vacant and when a unit becomes occupied. Because if a unit's not occupied and then it becomes occupied, they're not gonna jump up and down to start paying extra. You know, that's a problem. We run into that a lot. And that appears a couple of places in the codified. The other point that I want to make is with regards to the capital improvement charge that we currently have, which you guys have recommended to amend, is in, where was it, 920-108. And I lost it. Sorry, kids. Oh, each dwelling, structure, unit, building for business or commercial enterprise or location and any other location where a municipal water meter is installed shall pay the service charge for capital. So the way I read that is that whether you have 5 dwellings on 1 meter or 1 dwelling on 1 meter, each dwelling is going to have to pay or be responsible for a separate capital improvement charge. So if there's 5, then they're going to pay 32 times 5. That's how it reads now. Is that what you guys want it to say when it goes to council?
I'd say yes,
Okay,
because they're all benefiting by it, every one of those dwellings.
right, yeah,
Agreed.
okay. So I'll just change the amount from 2 to 32 and I won't change any other language. Every
Dwelling.
unit gets charged regardless of whether they're on multiple units on a meter or 1 unit on a meter. Oh gosh. So going back to this one, the one that we just passed in November 2018, are you recommending an amendment to that to make it just occupied units on the meter? Or you just want to wait for that?
Hmm.
I think I can go along with the occupied units. I think it'll be tough to follow, but to keep track of, but
Well, I think that's why we did it that way, the way we just did it a year ago. So then we didn't have to keep track of whether they were occupied or unoccupied. And then there's no cost benefit to the landlord to keeping his units vacant. Get them filled, so you can justify paying that cost.
John, what's your feeling?
Billing, the Tyler Tech doesn't, Tyler Tech billing just doesn't reoccur like that. You know, as long as they're charged the base rate on those units and not, you know, like the base rate plus like 7 times. And we'll have to just keep track of that. That's all, I believe. So we'll make sure it's correct and not, you know, double dipping, sort of say on that, charging them twice. We don't want to do that.
Right.
now, Mary Ann, have you been there long enough to hear some of the complaints coming in?
I've heard some complaints, not too many, actually.
Okay, because you're gonna have to be fielding these.
I know. I'm
Okay.
ready.
As ready as you can be.
Yeah. Well, you know, sometimes when you have the luxury of living in a small town, I live in a small town also, and I love it. It takes on responsibility of paying for these water and sewers, and that's just part of living in a small town.
Right.
So I'll explain that to them.
Good luck.
I had one resident think that we just raised the rates last week, so that person will be surprised.
Okay, Michelle, do you have what you need from us?
Okay, so you're changing one, 92108B to 32. I haven't heard a vote about changing, hang on. 941.22 master meter to occupied. Have you guys voted on that?
No.
Okay.
No, we did not.
And put the, I'm not sure if you want to do that or not. Maybe you don't want to.
I think
I
from the
think about
discussion
it.
and John, you and Mary Ann, I think can we handle it if we leave it the way it is and it has to be on everybody? Every unit.
I believe we can, as long as it's billed correctly on every unit. That's it's an error in the Tyler Tech, not us. And
Yeah, well,
it's hard to keep track of, and we've caught most of that, and we did really with Mary Ann and all her training and so forth, and Mayor and I, we went through these bills a lot more succinctly than we have in the past, which I think has helped us.
Linda, do you feel good with that? We can leave this one alone and count on Mary
Yeah.
Ann to keep track. And
Yes.
I mean, now that she's getting a little more used to it all and
Mhm.
with
She
the
just-
training that she's
there.
had and
I'm keeping
Yeah,
track
she
of
just basically, go ahead, Mary Ann.
That's okay. I just want to make sure I'm clear. We're not going to put the occupied language into that amendment, right? It's just, we're going to charge that fee for every unit. Is that correct? Or are we going with the occupied?
no, I think we're gonna
John?
leave, I think we're gonna leave that alone, right, John? 941.22.
Yeah, well, we have to leave it alone, but we're still have to watch the billing and make sure the software doesn't do an unintentional, because I don't believe the legislation, any of you intended to charge them for the water. And if they already paid for the full bill and then charge them for each unit.
Right.
So the water usage, but then, of course, they pay that minimum fee for the other ones, correct?
Okay.
So Mary Ann, you're correct. We're not changing it. We're just gonna monitor it.
Okay.
Bob, you good with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna try and move us along real quick here. The next thing we have is we have a resident down on Park Street. And actually, we have a business on Main Street too. That a year ago, the property owner on Prospect or Park Street came in and asked to have the water shut off because the place was vacant. And he was told that John would call him. John didn't get the message about that. And so the guy hasn't been paying the bill. So needless to say that $50.17 with the late fee every month in the last 11 months has accumulated up to between $700 and $800. Again, he asked to have it shut off. And I'm going to say that there's probably two reasons why. Possibilities. One, we're incapable of shutting it off because the little valve thingy is too old. It would probably break, and then there would be the big expense of replacing it. The second one is he was waiting for somebody to come down and try and shut it off. And I don't know. And again, it's kind of a he said, she said thing. He's telling me what he had discussed when he came into the office. So I don't know any reason why he would tell us that. But I think when we have cases where somebody says, I want it shut off so they won't receive a bill, and we're incapable of shutting it off, we do a final read as if we are shutting it off. And then when he says, hey, I have somebody in here again, we do another read. If we see that there's a bunch of usage, then we know that someone wasn't telling the truth. So I don't know what you guys, he doesn't feel that he owes this money. And I kind of sort of agree with him. He did tell me that the beginning of March that he let a homeless couple that we all know move in for 3 weeks. So he's willing to pay for the water for that. He found these people again. I think we all know them. And they were living in their car during the start of this coronavirus. So he let them move in until they got some money together to rent another place. So he's willing to pay for part of the charges. Now, when Mary Ann did the read, because he did give us an actual read, he would have am I explaining this right, Mary Ann? He would have had a credit. Explain where he's at, because he would have been paying all along.
Okay, so he got the minimum bill every month of $50.17. Okay, and the bill is estimated for a very long time. So it doesn't matter what the read was because he got the bill, the base bill every time, because he was under the 235 cubic feet of usage. So when he gave us the reading, yes, it was 833 cubic feet under what we had in our system because of the estimating that had gone on, but it would not have changed the financial part of his bill. So there is no credit of any kind when it comes to the water part because it was always the base rate. Right, John? John?
I said yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. But had we been able to physically shut his water off, then he would be square, so to speak, because we wouldn't have been billing him and
then he wouldn't have been able to move those people in.
unfortunately, that's right. And he's willing to pay, 1 month's water bill for that one, but he doesn't feel that he owes for the rest. So I don't know.
He does have incentive when you said, why would he not tell? I mean, I don't know these people at all. So, but incentive would be.
I mean, he had no. Right. Yeah, he didn't. He could have just said to me that it's been empty for the last 11 months. He didn't have to say, I let somebody move in for 3 weeks. I'm willing to pay a month's base fee for those. He could have lied. So I don't know. And then we have, the other one is the J&S Designs, J&L Design. That building's they moved out several months ago. And the property owner, again, has asked that we shut it off. Again, it's one of those places where 1 lateral, 2 meters, so we can't shut the J&L Design down because we'd be shutting off Middlefield Bank. So is that a case of where we, again, have a final read and not add the base charge of the $50.17 on that account because it's technically shut off even though it's not, because he verbally told us we could have him put it in writing. I don't know. There's circumstances to everything.
I have a question, about that, J&L design. I just got some bills, returned to me from them, from the post office yesterday, that were dated for bills back in November and December. And I mean, I got them all on one day. And, if we were told, we were continually sending out a bill to J&L, even though they weren't there. I mean, Chelsea was still sending the bill out to J&L, or she should have been sending it to the landlord.
It should have been going to the landlord. I didn't think that they'd been closed since November. Paula,
Yeah.
Bob, anybody? I thought it was after Christmas, but I could be wrong.
Well, maybe they
Does
didn't get
anybody
their mail.
remember?
I don't remember.
No, I do not.
I don't. It just seems like it's been empty for a long time.
Yeah,
And people have complained because they had
Well,
orders
yeah,
there and they
this
weren't being filled.
Yeah, this is April, so I was thinking they closed after Christmas, but again, maybe it was November. So apparently they didn't let Chelsea know that they were moving out. But their bill is $465 or something like that, close to that the property owner is going to be responsible to pay. So I guess 50 times, that would probably be fairly close, wouldn't it? If they moved,
Yeah.
if they did move out, that's November, December, there's 100. January and February, that's 200. No, they had to be behind at least $150 behind when they left. If we've been sending them another bill. Were they marked inactive or anything and she was still sending it out? Do you remember, Mary Ann?
No, they were not marked inactive because another bill would not generate.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
So the property owner has assured me that he's going to pay that and go after them himself. So,
Good.
but then we
Going,
go,
going,
what,
Oh.
Paula?
Good, let's
That
go.
one's handled, right? Yeah, so what do you want to do about the Park Street? Bring it before
oh,
council?
I got a couple of questions on the Park Street.
Okay,
Do we charge for turning off the water and then turning back on? Is there a charge?
we don't charge to turn it off, we charge to turn it back on.
And what's that charge?
$25.
$25. Okay.
Yeah, because
Now,
we
the
have some.
valve,
Go ahead.
the valve going to a resident, the valve box, if that breaks, John, what's the cost average to replace that?
It could be about 2,300, anywhere from 1,800 to 2,300 bucks. That's labor, new parts, everything, digging the hole, filling it back
Oh.
in.
Okay. All right. Well, see, we have no documentation showing that he asked us to turn it off and we can't find the valve box. And he's willing to pay, 3 weeks of water and sewer bill?
He's willing to pay 1 month, the
1 month.
the $50.17. Yeah. And he would like us to forgive the rest of it on that because he said, I mean, I know that she and I had talked about it in the past and she kept saying, well, I told John about it. Now, John, how many did she tell you to give him a call? Do you recall? Do you recall?
I remember, and I thought it was about another dwelling, not that dwelling itself. And that owner, I know it was vacant when I finally found out it was the Park Street house. So I can't dispute that. It was vacant.
well, I don't think we should charge them. honestly. I mean, I think we should charge him for the month that he agrees to. But if
We
if
just
he
have to
if
be
he
more.
honestly came in, and I mean, we know that we can't shut anybody off. We can't. You know, it's such a gamble.
Right.
And it's terrible that it's that big of a gamble that we can't shut a house off when they ask us to.
Right.
I mean,
right.
if you honestly think that if you believe this man, Linda, and you honestly believe that he came in and asked for us to shut his valve off, then I don't think we can. I just don't think we should bill him. I think we should bill him for the month. That's my opinion.
But I also think that we should put something in place since let's say we're incapable of shutting it off because of the cost we would incur by physically shutting it off. If
Potential.
someone
But
comes
yeah,
in and says they
potential.
want to shut it off, we'll get a final read and we'll have them write us a letter that as of April 6, 2020, I requested that my water be shut off. Here's my final read. They should pay a final bill. And when all of a sudden it's occupied again, we're going to have that documentation that they requested it and that we could not physically shut it off because of the expense to them and to the village to do so.
Well,
I
I
like
mean,
that,
I don't
yeah.
think legislation to do that. I think John can mandate that. Michelle?
okay.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's where I was headed.
Here's a question. If we get the new meters, we would know right away if there was a problem, right? Because it would pick up the meter
Once in the
regardless.
meters,
So we would know
Right,
if there was a leak, we would know if they were using water, we would know right away.
right, because the only thing that Mary Ann would be doing in the case like that is she can click it as inactive and it wouldn't produce a bill, but it's still going to show her an increase, that something's running.
Okay,
And if as soon as we notice something like that, then we can say, hey, you said it was empty and
Right.
it's not.
right.
Or
Right.
you
And
have a
again,
leak.
it puts a little more work on
Or
Mary
yeah,
Ann.
or you have a leak. I mean, either
Or you
way.
have a leak. Yeah, that's the way we'd start off. Oh, you must have a leak there.
Right. Okay, I'm good with that.
So
What happens if we have a unit that they want turned off, but we can't turn it off, so we go ahead and get it in writing? And then right now, before we get the meters, and we get a leak, and it incurs a large bill, and we don't realize it until they have somebody else move in, and we go get the first read or whatever, and it's so many cubic feet. Who is responsible for that?
we need to address that in whatever this letter that we're going to have them. It could be a form letter that John writes up that's, says, I'm requesting yada, 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 and I'm responsible if something breaks within the house, from the meter inside the house.
Yeah, here's the reading at this point, and from this point forward until I request, then I'm responsible for that water usage,
Right.
Correct.
and they have to
Okay.
sign. Yeah, and I think that,
Whether it's by leak or.
Bob, you good
Okay,
with
so
that?
we'll work on that letter, John.
I'm good with that, but I'm getting a visual. John, if we can't turn the water off at the street, at the valve box, then can't we mandate the homeowner to turn off the valve before the water meter in
Yes,
the
we-
house?
Some don't have them.
So
Yeah.
if there was a leak after that point in the house, it wouldn't matter because the valve would be shut off
Yeah, we can do
before
that.
the,
She's right. Some don't have it,
Yeah.
but after new meters installed, everyone will have it, which is good about the new meters.
Yeah, with the new meters, there's going to be a valve before and a valve after.
well, I got a valve before mine, and I would have to say at least half of the homes in the village have them too. that fair to say,
Now, see,
John?
Yeah.
yeah, we used to have one that was before the meter, but John put one after the meter in case there was a leak.
Right,
That, you
you
know,
could
so we
change
could
your
shut
meter.
off
Yeah.
the house. And plus it makes
Yeah.
it easier to change the meter.
Right. Yeah, I'm good with
Yeah,
it.
when we first moved in, it was direct. Okay, I'm done. I mean,
You're done?
I'm getting fried if that's what you mean. Everybody. put
Right, I'm
roll-
getting hungry and I think I want a martini. Or no, make it a Manhattan
I'm
tonight.
in Manhattan. I'm there.
You're trying to catch up to me. No, just kidding.
Oh, that's why you're on Just Voice.
You see? Yeah, I'm telling on myself.
Oh, dear.
Well, I can make this last one real quick. This one that has about 13302 powers and duties of the village administrator. Just
Mhm.
everybody take that and read that
Okay.
because I can't remember exactly when it was. It's been within the last year or so, Paula, when you said any bills from CT need to come before council, which is fine. I cannot find in the minutes where you said it. And when I checked with Jenny, I said, I've been trying to find this. I've gone back to 2017, reading every word twice to see. And she said, oh, there was never a vote on that. Paula just said it. And I
No,
said, oh.
because that's when Paul, and there was a vote, and I'd have to look back in my notes to see, and maybe that would help me pinpoint where it was, but
Yeah, if you can help me, because maybe I just haven't gone back far enough. But
yeah,
what Jenny said to me was, oh, something was passed back in 2011 for that. So I don't have the time to go back to 2011. I thought going back to 2017 was far enough because I thought that Bob and Randy were both, I'm sorry, Scott and Dave were both on council when you made the remark, but I don't remember for sure. I remember you saying it.
I remember Paul being there. I'm pretty sure Paul was there. And
Okay,
I
so
think
that
John
had to
would
be
have been.
2015, 2016. Okay. Well, anyhow, that would be real quick, and I just want everybody to read this section where it says that the village administrator can approve expenditures as long as we have the money up to $3,000 without council approval. And my question is John approves a lot of expenditures under that amount, except for CTs, because it was specific that it hits all of CTs, not every one. So are we singling CT out in this, on this, or do we need to change the legislation that John has to have? I mean, right now we have like 7 work authorizations from CT that have been sitting since February, because we didn't have a March meeting, on work that they have completed for us at our request. And Service had requested that he continue working on the merger and work on this rate analysis. He's not getting paid for that because we haven't approved it. He did the 2, the Middlefield Bank and 44 Restoration site plan reviews that both of those businesses paid the money to the village. He can't get paid for that because we haven't approved the work authorizations. Now, I can see when they're big expenses. I mean, when we pass legislations for grants and stuff like that, and we've approved the final grant application, it's broken down in there what their fee is going to be. So why do we need to come? I don't understand. So I just want everybody to look at this and we can discuss it at next service meeting so we can all go home.
Yeah.
Or shut off our
And
computer.
actually, it hasn't been really
Cocktail.
working anyway. So
As
a lot
far
of
as
times-
what we have,
a lot of times
I'm-
CT brings it to the council meetings and it never gets through finance, so. let it go.
Well, but I thought when you said it had to be in the council packets. Again, I could be wrong because I don't remember everything. I remember you saying it. I remember, but I thought you said you just wanted to make sure that they were in the council packets so everybody could review them prior to the meeting. And then Jenny was saying, no, it was finance. And she could be right, but I can't find it in the minutes.
Yeah,
And I'm not saying it's not there, I just haven't found it. And then when she said it happened back in 2011, I mean, that was before you and because you weren't there in 2011.
no.
Yeah, I mean, you were what, 2015 is when you came in, right?
Well, I just started my second session, so was that 15?
15 to 19 would be 4
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, okay, 15. So
Yeah, just
I think-
everybody think about
let's move on, and because there's no action that's necessary at this point on that issue, is there?
Except
And if I-
we need,
Oh,
If
we
I
just need to
find
get it
anything in
paid,
the
right?
minutes, we can address it then.
Is there
Okay,
anything else on there, Scott, that we got to hit tonight? I mean, we still are advertising for operators. It's just nobody's applying or nobody qualified.
okay. The Orchard Street, we all kind of know about, right? We
Yeah,
see that they've been down there working.
they got, they're almost done with all the polls. We just
Yeah.
need it. For some reason, we need an easement between Ohio Edison and Compass because poles that they used to put in the right of way, just because they wanted to, now all of a sudden, you can't do the good old boy thing, I guess, and say, sure, go ahead and do it. You have to have an easement.
Sure,
So that's in the process of CT getting that ready for them.
okay. The sanitary
And-
line we've got going on.
That should be done probably the end of this week, the middle of next week. And that's
Okay.
it.
And the asset management, we're just kind of hanging on to.
Hanging out. Forever.
So is there anything else that anybody needs to bring up?
Yes, of course. Sorry. One of the things, we were out walking today and along 44 and Tom brought up that there is one pole, electric pole, to the south of the scientist's barn that is got a lot of transformers on it. And if you look at it, it's really bending.
Crooked.
It's across
Anything
from
in number?
Compass. Oh, I didn't even think of that. It's right across from Compass. Could go back
Like
there
from
and
the
get
ice
it
cream
tomorrow, I
shop
guess.
or ice
Pardon?
cream shop or ice cream
It's
shop or
no, it's
closer
more
to
across
Orchard?
from Compass. It's before you get to the bridge,
So before the car wash?
before the car wash. I think yeah.
On the east side or the west side? The poles
East
are all on
side.
the east side.
East.
Okay. East side heading north. After the car wash, before the scientist. Does that
Yeah.
sound right? Okay.
That's, yeah, in that vicinity.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
a few other things. Does the service department have the paint for repainting the benches, the wood benches, the green paint and the red paint? Or did DMRC purchase that in the past? This may be
No,
something I can talk to John on. I'll give you a call, John.
Right, well, Paula, real quick, we had told Edie a year and a half ago, last year, that we weren't gonna buy paint for those anymore, that as they got bad, we were going to start purchasing new wood to put
Just-
on a bench, and we were just going to put the
Leave.
varnish or whatever.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right,
we weren't
that's-
gonna paint the wood anymore.
And it
'cause
was
I mean,
also brought up that the kiosk at the, when you come off of the Headwaters Trail, the kiosk right there is, needs some fixing.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
John and I are aware of that. We're in the process of doing a to-do list of little jobs that the service guys need to get done. So, but
Okay.
yeah, the kiosk we've known about since it was after Potato Festival, somebody told us, and
Okay. And the
We
other
just
thing I
haven't
want to
gotten
let people know is that in the next week or so, we'll probably be putting up the sunshades, the sails on the mini park. Okay.
Okay.
Very good. That's all. I'm out. I'm done.
Okay.
I move that we adjourn.
Is
Second,
someone? Okay, I guess we're going to adjourn at 8:10.
Aye.
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 night, everybody.
Good night.
Everyone.
Aye, be safe.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care, guys.
You too.
And next
Bye.
time, Bob, maybe I should be without a picture here. Because the next meeting will really be long.
Just keep a
Yeah,
straw.
you'll be red or white wine.
Yeah, Paula,
You
he's
can just-
probably sitting there sipping wine while we're being on camera.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night.
Right.
Night.